Hey everyone, we're going to be kicking off 2014 with the first part of the Sonic Review series. And as you can probably tell from the title, I'm kind of skipping around a bit. The simplest reason for why is that there's really not that much to say about the early Sonic games. They're some of the greatest 2D side-scrolling platforming games ever made. Each game builds off of the advances of its predecessor, which is exactly what sequels should do. Each sequel added new characters like Tails and Knuckles in addition to adding new moves like the Spin Dash. Then after a string of awesome games like Sonic CD and Sonic & Knuckles, 3D Blast came along, and it was pretty much a dark omen foreshadowing just how unpredictable Sonic's jump to 3D was going to be. Sonic Adventure was originally released for the Dreamcast back in 1998, and it was the first fully 3D Sonic game. Adventure had a lot to prove being the first 3D Sonic game, and like many franchises at the time, Sonic Team was about to figure out whether Sonic could survive the jump from 2D. The game was overall very popular on the Dreamcast. In fact, it was the system's best-selling game, but due to that system's short lifespan, Sega chose to port the game over to the GameCube in 2003 in order to keep the game relevant. Since then, the game has received multiple ports over the years, and was most recently put on the Xbox 360 Arcade and the PSN. The story is nothing special as far as Sonic games go. Dr. Robotnik wants some Chaos Emeralds to control an entity called Chaos, and Sonic has to stop him. Simple stuff to be sure. Where Adventure takes an interesting design with its story is in the ability to play the game as 6 characters. At the start you can only play as Sonic, but make a little bit of progress in his story, and you'll eventually encounter the other characters, and then be able to play as them. The downside to the multiple characters is that many of the cutscenes and boss fights will tend to repeat. The story is also not really told in a linear fashion. Instead, the story unfolds from each character's perspective. Each character will end up getting bits and pieces of the overall story. However, when most of the characters witness important plot details, they'll act confused as to what they just saw. This is true especially in regards to the flashbacks that explain what Chaos really is and where he came from. The characters never seem to be able to put 2 and 2 together and figure out that the flashbacks are taking place in the past and that Chaos was initially placed inside the Master Emerald. It can be aggravating to watch the characters be so dense and fail to grasp any logic when presented with the flashbacks. They will all just simply write off the flashbacks as a dream and give it no more thought.
What was that all about? Is this a dream?
And also, what's up with the ending episode? Chaos destroys the entire city by flooding it, and Tails has this response after the final battle.
All's well that ends well, right?
Yeah, Tails. I guess you're right. Well, except for the fact that, Chaos just killed about 1,000 innocent people, and the fresh corpses are still in the damn water. But no. You're right. Chaos is a nice guy now, so, who really cares about the innocent lives he took 5 seconds ago? Sega has also given each character different mission structures. Sonic's levels will have you running fast, speeding through loops, collecting rings, the usual stuff. In addition, Sonic's levels each have something that makes them unique. You might be racing in a bumper car or snowboarding down a mountain. Tails' missions have you repeating Sonic's missions over again, but with the objective to now beat Sonic to the Emerald or Capsule at the end of the run. Knuckles' missions have you searching several levels for 3 pieces of the Master Emerald, and Amy's missions have you trying to outrun a robot that will follow you around. That's easier said than done, as Amy moves super slow, and the slow speed makes her missions feel like they go on for far too long. Gamma's missions have you shooting down everything in sight, which can be a bit simplistic, though it can be enjoyable to watch everything in sight explode. And finally, there's Big the Cat, whose missions require you to go fishing to try and catch his frog, Froggy. Yes, you heard that right, ladies and gentlemen. There is a whole chapter of this game where you have to go fishing for a frog. And I would easily like to write off this mission string completely, but I mean, this isn't just some mini-game or some optional activity. Oh, no. If you want to get to the game's final chapter with Super Sonic, and in turn get the real ending of the game, you'll have to complete all of the characters' individual stories. Which means, you've got to find that damn frog if you want the real ending. Fishing isn't even that enjoyable, as first you have to find where the frog is before you can actually go fishing for it. Then you have to cast your line and pray that Froggy will bite on, while also hoping that none of the other fish in the area will grab onto the line first. And trying to get the line near Froggy can be an absolute nightmare. Oh, and for some reason, all of the fish in the water will automatically hook onto the line, but if you want to hook onto Froggy, you have to flick the analog stick a certain way, or reeling in the line. And I'm fine with fishing as being an optional minigame. I mean, most games tend to have that, but fishing has no business of being in a Sonic game, let alone being such a crucial part. Also, it doesn't help that the character of Big the Cat is probably one of the biggest mistakes in the entire Sonic franchise. He moves as slow as hell through the environment, and he talks like he just took a hit to the head with a cinder block and now has brain damage.
Yoo-hoo, Froggy! Come out, wherever you are! Oh man, where could that pollywog cow be anyway?
Sonic Adventure is also the first game in the series to have a hub world for players to explore. You can run around Station Square, the jungles of the Mystic Ruins, and Dr. Robotnik's ship, the Egg Carrier. However, the inclusion of a hub world is generally a waste. The hub world basically serves as a way of slowing you down before you can reach the next action stage. You'll usually need to find a key and then place that key somewhere in order to move forward. It can kind of kill the momentum of the story as you run aimlessly around trying to find the key or object that you need. For instance, in order to get into one of Knuckles' stages, you have to go searching for some caves. Once you get into the caves, you gotta find an upgrade for Knuckles in order to dig underground. Then find a spot in the cave where you can dig in order to find a bomb to blow up a monkey that's blocking your way out of the cave. Once you blow up that monkey, you gotta go back to the spot where you found the bomb the first time, take up another bomb, then go all the way back up to the mountains in order to kill another monkey that's blocking the way to get to the next action stage. I mean, why was the hub world even needed? I mean, why not go to the next action stage? The boss fights are a bit disappointing as each boss is damaged in the same way. Each boss strategy basically boils down to you running around the arena like a chicken with your head cut off while the boss attacks. Then when he stops, you can take your free hit, rinse and repeat, and the boss will go down like that. And like I said before, the boss fights repeat, so get ready to fight that Chaos version 6 monster 3 times in the exact same way. And the only really innovative boss in the game is the final one you'll face in Sonic's story, the Egg Viper. This boss will actually change up its attacks as you weaken it, requiring you to figure out a new way to land your attacks. The presentation is a bit of a mixed bag. While the environments and stages are bright and colorful, there are a few technical issues to contend with. As you run around the environment, don't be surprised if you get stuck on a wall, or hell, even the ceiling of certain structures. This happens way too often. The controls for moving around can be a bit twitchy. You'll be racing down a path and try to move to collect some rings, only to find that the controls just won't let you. This happens throughout the game, with the controls sometimes being a bit unresponsive. The unresponsive controls can sometimes lead to a cheap death, though thankfully the controls work more often than they fail, so it's not a game-breaking problem. The camera is your worst enemy as you progress, never giving you a clear view of what you want to see. And while the camera can be controlled manually, you'll often be at war over where you want the camera to go and where the game wants the camera to go. Finally, in regards to the overall presentation, there's the voice acting, which borders on mediocre to flat out bad. Characters tend to state the obvious in cutscenes and will often just ask questions. And it doesn't help that half the characters sound like they're being voiced by 8-year-olds. And I know that half of these characters are technically 8 and 7 and 12, but they don't have to sound exactly like that. Though I'm gonna give the voice acting a bit of a pass since this was the first game in the series to use voice actors, and that can be challenging the first time out. The soundtrack is definitely the best part of the presentation by far. The game has a bunch of kick-ass tunes that totally capture the atmosphere of racing around at top speeds. Most of the tracks are catchy and will definitely get stuck in your head. The game also has a ton of replay value. In addition to playing as the 6 characters, there are missions to find around the hub world for each of them, and you can replay the missions from the campaign, though with different objectives, like collecting a set number of rings. There's also the Chow Garden, where you can raise a bunch of baby Chow. Finishing all of these extras will give you emblems, which can be used to unlock classic Sonic Game Gear titles. Sonic Adventure might not be a perfect game, but considering that this was Sonic Team's first attempt at a real 3D Sonic title, it's a pretty good start. The game has more fun moments than frustrating ones, which makes it enjoyable, and the fact that this game has seen multiple re-releases over the years just shows the lasting impression that this game has had on fans. So stay tuned as we continue our Sonic review series when we look at Sonic Adventure 2.